Bungie has given us our first look at Marathon gameplay, and it's looking pretty damn good. Let's talk about it. Hello there everybody, and welcome to The Comfy Spot. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to be talking about the official gameplay reveal that Bungie gave us for their upcoming extraction shooter, Marathon. It's been a while since Marathon was first announced, and we have learned really not too much since then up until this brand new gameplay reveal. And after watching it, this hour-long stream, I walked away from it feeling, pretty impressed. The game looks really promising, but I do have some concerns, but for the most part, I am feeling pretty positive about Marathon. Let's talk about some of the more important details though, some of the more pressing details that I'm sure many of us are wondering and looking forward to knowing about this game, specifically when it's coming out. So Marathon will be coming out in just a couple months. It is coming out on September 23rd, 2025 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and it is coming to Steam as well. Later on this month, there will be a closed alpha that you can participate in. The alpha is going to be focused solely on North America, so unfortunately, if you're not in North America, you will not be able to play in the closed alpha. But in order to even get access to the closed alpha, you have to sign up in their official Discord. So go ahead, sign up in there if you want to have a chance to try and get into the closed alpha. That'll be happening later on this month. A couple other details regarding, just the bullet point details about Marathon's release. It is going to be a premium title. It will not be a free-to-play game. I don't think many of us were expecting it to be free-to-play, but just for confirmation, Bungie has given confirmation, it is not a free-to-play game. It is a premium title. You have to spend money on Marathon, but they did say it will not be full price. So that I take that to mean it's not going to be $70 or even maybe $60. But they didn't say anything more than that. So all they did say was that more details about pricing will be coming at a later date. I take that to mean it's not going to be full price. It'll probably be $40, similar to Helldivers 2, maybe $50 at the highest end, but I do not see it surpassing $50 at all. It's definitely not $60, definitely not $70. Most likely, I'm thinking $40 game when it comes out in September. That is not official information though. That is just my prediction. Also, there are going to be microtransactions in the game as per GameSpot's preview done by Tamor Hussein. He said that from what he gathered during his time over at Bungie last week playing the game, that there will be microtransactions and there will be a battle pass and Marathon. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, monetization wise and stuff. We don't know the full scope of what those microtransactions entail or what that battle pass entails, but after we talk about these details of the actual game itself, what we saw from the reveal, we can speculate about what some of that will be. Now for the game itself and the gameplay reveal that we saw today. Again, I thought the gameplay looked pretty damn cool. It looked awesome. I liked the visual aesthetic of it. I liked the style, the intensity. It looked like it will be a lot of fun to play. But let's go over this. So first off, you will be playing as characters called runners. These are essentially, think of it as like your hero character, your archetype character that you would have in like say Rainbow Six, Apex, Overwatch, stuff like that. You have a specific character, a specific character class, I guess you could say. There are going to be 6 of them at launch. 4 of them will be available in the alpha, and the 4 that are going to be in the alpha were shown off in today's gameplay reveal. Those being Locust, who is this like soldier, burly type character who's all about pushing forward and breaking the offensive with their gameplay. There is Blackbird, who's all about being recon based, finding other players, locating other characters and stuff. There is Glitch, who was described as the agile disruptor, so I imagine them being the one who goes off to draw enemies' attention so that your teammates can flank them from a different side or get past them or whatever the case may be. They seem pretty fun. And then there was Void, who is a stealth-focused character. They're all about active camo, throwing down smoke, being real sneaky so you could either get through the environment or sneak up on enemies and take them out easy peasy lemon squeezy. The characters, I love the designs. They are very sleek designs, and I might be saying this a lot throughout this video, but the art direction, the visual design of Marathon is nothing less than just beautiful. It is visually striking. It's arresting. I just cannot get enough of it. This has been the case ever since it was first announced years ago, but ever since, as we've gotten more and more art from it, especially in recent days leading up to this gameplay reveal, and then seeing the game itself and seeing how it translates so well to gameplay, I just cannot get enough of just looking at Marathon, just admiring how damn good it looks. As Bungie says, they were going for graphic realism with it, and they hit it. It looks awesome. It looks fantastic. I love the look of it. Now, as for the gameplay itself, like I said, Marathon is an extraction shooter. I've not played them, but if you are not aware of them, here's my gathering of extraction shooters. And extraction shooters, these are the games where you load into a match, you go into it, you choose what your loadout is going to be, what weapons and equipment you'll go into the match with, you start your match up, and then you're just saying, okay, what are you going to try and do? Are you going to try and take out as many enemies as you can? Are you going to try and gather as many materials and items as you want? It's all about going into a match, getting as much loot as you can, and getting out alive with the loot that you gathered. If you die in a match, any loot that you had when you went into the match is gone. You lost that loot. But any loot that you come out of a match with, you can keep and carry over into future matches. That is the basis of an extraction shooter. If that sounds really intense and hardcore, that sounds that'd be an accurate assessment to make of the genre. Notable extraction shooters are like the games Escape from Tarkov. There's also like the DMZ mode that was in Call of Duty. I don't believe it's in there anymore, but there was a DMZ mode a couple years ago in Call of Duty that fit the extraction shooter mode and all. Marathon is that. Marathon is that type of game. It's a PvP VE extraction shooter. So when you go into the map that is on this planet called Tau City 4, there's going to be a bunch of different maps in the game. When you go into the maps, you're going to be going up against human players and AI enemies as well. Some of these AI enemies are like these robotic soldiers from this group called the UESC. They're like these weird alien type things that we kind of briefly saw. I think they were called ticks. There's going to be a range of different AI enemies to go up against, in addition to the other human players that are in the game as well. There's going to be 3 maps across the game. A 4th map will be coming shortly after launch, but when it comes out on September 23rd, there will only be 3 maps there. And Bungie did say that the maps are going to range in terms of sizes and player counts. So the max player count is in a map for human player is going to be 18 human players, but the other maps, we don't know the sizes of them. The map that we saw in the gameplay reveal that they were talking about the most was this map called Dire Marsh. It was like this forest type one, marshland and everything. It had like some industrial buildings in the middle, some like maybe not factory-esque, but some industrial buildings in the middle of the map and across the map really. And that is an 18 human player map. What are the other player caps of the other maps? We don't know. Maybe there'll be a 9-player one, a 12-player one. Who knows? We gotta wait to find out more information about them. So you go onto the maps, and it's all about, again, getting in, getting what loot you can, and getting out. In a marathon, there are going to be like a bunch of different points of interest for you to go to. So a marathon, it might be a thing of, all right, with this run, I want to try and get as many weapons as I can. I want to try to get as many valuables as I can. I want to try and get cores that I could use to upgrade my runner, or I want to try and find other equipment things, other gear I can use for my character. Like, there's so many things that you could possibly do and possibly say, this is what I'm going to be doing in this run when I go into the map. Here's the thing though, I can't believe I forgot this already. It's an extraction shooter, and Marathon is it's really based around 3-person teams, so squads of 3. So you'll be going up against other squads of 3 most likely. I say most likely because you could also play solo if you want, but you're still playing solo against other teams, other squads. That's how the game match makes. They did not say if there would ever be a solo only mode where you're only going up against other solo players. It seems like Marathon is really built around the team of 3 type thing. So it's going to be interesting seeing how people form their teams. Like, all right, I'm going to play with like people I know. Am I going to do matchmaking? How that's all going to pan out. It'll be interesting to see. But they did say, there are going to be 6 runners in the game. Your question you might have is, okay, how is my team comp going to be? Do I have to be, is it like only one of each runner can be in a team, or can I have a full team of the same runner? Yes, you can do that. You can have your teams be made up of whatever characters you want them to be. So if you want to have 3 voids or 3 glitches or 2 voids and 1 blackbird, you could do that. Whatever team comp you want to do, you are allowed to do that, which is super cool. It seems really fun. Now, when it comes to the runners themselves, again, they're gonna each have their own different abilities that are unique to them. So like I said before, Void has the active camo. Locust, he has like this like energy shield that they can put up, as well as these like jet energy boosters on their legs that allow them to like do these really far dashes and all, which seem pretty cool. It seems like every character is gonna have something that makes them unique in terms of how they play. Of course, how that is in practice, we have to wait and see until we get our own hands on the game. But watching the gameplay reveal, it all looked it seemed pretty interesting. It seemed pretty fun, whether it be the cinematic trailer gameplay reveal that was like really highly edited, or when we were watching the creators. There was like an extended section in the gameplay reveal where we saw creator highlights, and we really saw like almost a full match of like one team just like playing, and there were multiple teams that they showed, but we saw like a whole lot of one team playing. We saw another like good chunk of a match of another team playing, and just watching the play. And of course, these are actual content creators out there, so like Dr. Lupo, so on and so forth. Big name creators out there were playing the game and this gameplay reveal that we saw, and watching them, it's like, okay, you kind of get an idea or a sense of what Bungie's going for the core gameplay to be. And it seems like, yeah, it's going to be intense. It's going to be hardcore. You could be going around and things could be chill at first, but then you're like, all right, we want to go to this location over here, and then you get there and then you see that there are AI enemies there. So you say, all right, cool, let's take out these AI enemies and we'll try and go in here. But then while you're fighting them, human players start coming in, they start joining the fight. So then you might be getting sniped by like one of them from distance away, while the other 2 have like coming up close on you. And then that fight can be really tough and everything. You're trying to keep yourself alive, revive your teammates. If you go down, you want to move somewhere for your teammates to revive you and get you back up. So it seems really intense. And even the AI enemies, they're not all like chumps. There are some like grunt type ones, but there are some AI enemies that are more strong and burly that could easily take you down. Like there was a general type character that we saw one of the teams going up against, and that one was pretty that was a bit of a doozy seeing them fight them. But yeah, and then even when you're going across the map during a match, there'll be like spontaneous events that happen. So we saw like again, stuff with the AI enemies. It was like I forgot what the event was, but like some enemies dropped on down, and then like the team took them out and then got some loot from where those enemies dropped down that was specific to them coming down to that area, which that seemed pretty cool. They also Bungie, the team, also did confirm that there will be some weather effects, some dynamic weather stuff happening on maps, which seems pretty neat. What else did they say? They also did say that they're on the maps, there are gonna be secrets for you to find that play into the bigger story that Marathon is gonna be telling in the background, and also a bit overtly. And they didn't divulge what those secrets were going to be, what they entailed, how deep it would get, but it'll be interesting also seeing, figuring out how, what those secrets are, finding them, so on and so forth. And that's something that the team talked about in recent months when talking about Marathon, about how they want it to be a thing where with the story, the players themselves are like finding things and affecting the world with the story bits that they find across the different maps in the world of Tau Ceti 4. So it'll be interesting to see and practice how that all turns out. And a couple other things real quickly, there is going to be build crafting, kind of like I talked about before, where you can increase your different stats for your characters, different gear and upgrades for yourself. So you can say, for example, you can increase your agility, you can build up your shields, you can give yourself cores that that give you extra passive abilities. You can increase your resistance to different things. There's going to be different rarities for gear. The weapons and weapon attachments are going to have different mods for themselves. Some of these things are going to be like gold tier, which is basically like exotics in Destiny. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot that they talked about in the gameplay reveal. Far too much for me to even go over in this video. But I do want to get into some of my concerns with it right now. One being the approachability factor of things. And Bungie did say that this is something that they're trying to address. They're trying to make Marathon a game that is easy to dive into, because like I was saying before, the extraction shooter genre, it's not like a casual multiplayer shooting genre at all. Far from it. It is way more intense. It is way more high stakes. Arguably way more intense than even like a battle royale game, because you go into this and there are stakes to it. Like, you go into a match and you can lose everything that you go into it with within the first minute if you're not lucky and if you're not good enough. So there are stakes to extraction shooters, and for myself personally, I'm not that big a fan of games where it's like, yeah, you got one life to live and that's it, you're done if you die. I prefer like the respawn type games. So like that's why I don't necessarily play too many battle royale games, and if I do, I don't play them that long. It's more a time waster thing if I do. But Marathon, I am interested in it, but that approachability factor, it does have me a bit nervous. And Bungie did say, they said some things, like they did say one thing was like, oh, they're gonna have sponsor kits in the game, which are essentially packages of gameplay items that will be able to basically give you the bare minimum of gear to survive a match if you're low on gear. So basically, if you've been losing a bunch and coming out of matches and not without a lot of gear, and you're trying to go into a match, you're like, man, I really don't have much to work with here, you can get a sponsor kit, and that'll give you the bare minimum you need to at least survive, get into a match, and get some things at the bare minimum, which is nice. That is a way to try and alleviate tensions, of course. Past that, it wasn't necessarily clear based on what they were saying, to my understanding, at the very least, of how they were making the game and the genre more approachable to those who are new to it or aren't necessarily big fans of that gameplay style. So, that's going to be something I'm looking for, at least, to hear from Bungie in the months and everything leading up to release, but also when the game comes out, because again, I am going to play it when it comes out. I do want to get my hands on it. I do want to try it myself and see what I think of it. I do want to give it a good and honest, fair try. So when I do play it, it's something I'm going to keep an eye on, like, all right, how is this working for me? Am I enjoying it? Am I finding it easy to get into? Bungie with their gameplay, it's all about picking it up and like kind of getting it really quickly and understanding it, and then the more you play, the more you get comfortable and all. So I imagine that's still going to be the case here, but for me, again, it's really just that gameplay style of, you got to be very intentional, you got to be very careful, you got to be on your A game, because again, there are huge stakes at play here, where if you lose, you are losing not just like the match. It's not like, I just lost the match, I'll go into the next one. Like, no, you lost the match and you lost actual things that you owned, your character owned. So that is one concern that I have. Another concern I have is the story side of things here. Marathon, they're trying to tell a story with it in a unique, interesting way, where there is going to be an overarching story throughout each season, and there's going to be the secrets on the map, like I mentioned before, that you can find that play into the story, and there's going to be something that they tell over time. But I do wonder, like, how important is that going to be? How upfront is it going to be? Is it going to be something that's just really in the background and doesn't get any service, doesn't get any attention at all? There's also factions in the game that you can do challenges for and get some gear and upgrades and stuff from outside of matches. You can get some loot and bring your loot to them and sell your loot to them, and so on and so forth. The factions each have stories as well, and based off the GameSpot preview, again by Tabor Hussein, he was saying in it that the factions, they seem kind of like really bare bones in terms of the story information that we get from them in terms of their backstory and all like that. And as he said, it's kind of somewhat reminiscent of early days Destiny, where there was some story with the factions there, but it was really all like in the background. And to be honest, to be fair, I don't think it's a bad thing if in a multiplayer game, if you're trying to tell a story but it's really more of like a extra background type thing, like that's not necessarily a problem. I mean, Fortnite's kind of done that, although Fortnite's definitely put it way more in the foreground a lot over years as well. But I mean, it's not necessarily a problem, but at the same time, if you are touting your story, and if you're touting your story as something that is important to the world, then I do feel like if you're doing that, you need to, actually prop the story up and, show it the actual importance that you are saying it has in the actual game itself, in the gameplay, in the mechanics, in the world, and not just having it be, a little, oh, if you see it type thing. If you get it, you get it. So I wonder how that's all going to play out and going hand in hand with the story, which gets into one of my bigger concerns of Marathon. I wonder, how is the story going to be told over time, but also we're having the story, how long can we expect to be able to have this story be told? This is a live service game, and in the current landscape of live service games, as we've seen in recent years, does not take much for a live service game to get shut down and, all future prospects that the team had for it get wiped away in a heartbeat, in an instant. This being Marathon, coming from Bungie, as I've said on record on the channel many times before, I think Marathon will be a success at a base level. At a bare minimum, it will be a successful game because it is Bungie, because of them and their pedigree. The game will see success and it will, go on past, it won't die within 2 months. It will continue to go on for at least a year or so. And I mean, going back to Destiny, when it first came out, it was not necessarily well regarded. It had a high dedicated player base to it, but there were major flaws there. And the same thing with Destiny 2. When Destiny 2 came out, also there were flaws there, but Bungie stuck with it. Their community stuck with it. They built a community up, and it grew into the game it is today, which still has flaws. The community goes back and forth all the time, but they stuck with it, and here we are with Destiny 2 in the place it is right now, about to be Destiny Frontiers, whatever that ends up being. So I have reason to believe Bungie will be sticking with Marathon, or has every intent and plan to stick with Marathon. But the reality of the situation is, that doesn't necessarily mean you can have all the intent in the world. That's not how things will always pan out. Marathon could easily end up being a game that ends up getting shut down because it's not profitable at all. It's not bringing enough money, or because the player count is just far too low for what they need at all. Who knows? There could be so many different reasons as to why Bungie ends up having to shut down Marathon, in which case, going back to the story, we don't see what happens with the story. The story doesn't, get a natural conclusion in any way, shape, or form. It's just kind of left hanging on a thread. Go look at Concord last year. Concord wanted to tell a story with its characters and everything, and really didn't even get to start telling its story, unfortunately, which is honestly a damn shame. There was a lot of gems in there, a lot of potential for an interesting story and world with those characters in that universe. So looking at Marathon, I wonder, how is that going to turn out and everything? And at the end of the reveal, of the gameplay reveal stream, Bungie showed off this, this lengthy cinematic, that movie that they put together with this Oscar-winning director. I don't remember their name. But it was so fascinating. You kind of saw the story of Tau Ceti. You saw people living on Tau Ceti, but then some event happened and they all died. And then we see the mercenaries, the runners on the planet. And we follow a team of mercenaries, a team of runners. And then we see each of them get picked off one by one. And it's utterly captivating. It's a beautiful, beautiful cinematic. And I love the story in it. And watching it, just had me think to myself, man, I would love to get story content like this from Marathon. We're not getting that though. This is a multiplayer game. It's a live service game, so we're not getting that. But I mean, stories, I mean, they're trying to say story is important, and that cinematic right there tells me like, hey, they're putting story at some level of high importance for Marathon. So hopefully it actually pans out that way when the game comes out. So at the end of the day, after this Marathon reveal, gameplay stream and everything, I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling optimistic about Marathon. I am excited for it, possibly more excited for it after having watched the reveal, seen the stream, and sat and thought about it. Because I recorded this video earlier and it was kind of all over the place. But now after having spent the day, really sat, thought about it some more, collected my thoughts, I am excited for Marathon. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going to play it when it comes out. A lot of the gameplay stuff that we're seeing here looks fun, looks cool. The the team play that we see and all the abilities that we're seeing with the characters, the world itself, it all looks cool. It looks great. It's all going to come down to when it actually comes out, what's it going to be like? How is it going to thrive in a world in which it's competing for time and attention and money with games like Call of Duty, with Fortnite, with Apex, with Overwatch, with Rainbow Six, so on and so forth. God forbid Grand Theft Auto 6 actually comes out this year. It's going to be competing for time with that as well. There's also Borderlands 4, which I believe comes out the exact same day this is planned to come out. That is the granddaddy, so to speak, of looter shooters, and the next one's coming out this year in the same exact month. So it's gonna be a lot. How is Bungie and Marathon going to fare? Again, like I've said before, this video and many times before in the past, Marathon will succeed and find success in some way, shape, or form purely because it is coming from Bungie, purely because of the trust and faith people have in that team. And I do think it'll come out the gate swinging. It does seem a tad content bare. We'll see what that ends up looking like though, what their steady cadence for releasing post-launch content is going to be. They didn't really talk about that in the gameplay reveal. They didn't really talk about what the they didn't talk about that at all. Microtransactions or the battle pass, what that'll look like, what the cadence of post-launch content will be. So we're getting a fourth map soon after launch on September 23rd. When does the fifth map come? When are we going to be getting new runners? How many new runners should we expect? What is the cadence for all that? Are there going to be new weapons added? Like so on and so forth. There are many still questions to be had about Marathon. I think this gameplay reveal was meant to just be giving us like an idea of, okay, this is the game, this is what it looks like. You guys have an idea now of what we're shooting for here. That September 23rd release date is much sooner than I thought it was going to be. At this point I would have expected maybe later in the year. That September release, it is like, okay, interesting. Given that it is coming in September and the amount of content that's here, it does beg the question again, is that gonna be enough? Is the team do they want to take more time to put a bit more in the game to have it launch, but they were just like, we gotta get it out by September. We have to get it out by this date before XYZ happens in the rest of the year. Possibly, who knows? But either way, I'm going to be optimistic about Marathon. I want it to succeed. Bungie's been going through a bit of a rough patch and all. I want the team to succeed. I want them to have a win. The game looks cool. It looks fun. Looks very promising. There are concerns. I just hope it goes well, and I personally cannot wait to get my hands on it when it comes out on September 23rd later this year. Those are all my thoughts though about Marathon. Let me know your thoughts on Marathon. Did you watch the reveal stream? Let me know what you thought about it. Did it get you more excited for the game, less excited? Are you in the middle? Where are you on Marathon? Let me know down in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and hit that notification bell. That way you know as soon as new videos go live. My name is Tyler. This has been The Comfy Spot. We'll talk next time. Have a good one.